Although it's hardly as famous as Stagecoach or some of the later westerns he made, Tall in the Saddle is crucial to John Wayne's transformation into a movie icon. Despite having worked in the genre for years ahead of his role in Stagecoach, the 1939 film is widely credited for putting John Wayne on the map in Hollywood and setting him up as its top western star. Both of these things are true of Stagecoach's role in John Wayne's storied film career, but it alone didn't carve his image. Following Stagecoach's release, Wayne's popularity grew, allowing him to amass leading roles in bigger-budget films than what he was accustomed to in the 1930s. In the early 1940s, Wayne headlined numerous movies, including westerns like The Spoilers with Randolph Scott, In Old California, and Dark Command with Roy Rogers. Among the most memorable of his projects from this era in his career was Tall in the Saddle, where he appeared alongside Ella Raines and western character actor Gabby Hayes. Tall in the Saddle was a major step forward for Wayne and his best western since Stagecoach. What Tall in the Saddle is about. John Wayne is trying to solve a ranch owner's murder in Tall in the Saddle. John Wayne Tall in the Saddle. John Wayne made several movies in the immediate years that followed Stagecoach, but none matched the quality of the 1939 classic. However, Tall in the Saddle arguably did come close. In the movie, Wayne takes on the role of Rocklin, a stranger who makes waves in a small western town when he thrusts himself into the middle of a murder mystery. Rocklin's actions draw a variety of reactions from the townsfolk, with some welcoming his arrival and others seeing him as a problem. The villains, whose identities remain ambiguous for a portion of the film, predictably try to get Rocklin out of the way. These interactions between Rocklin and the locals help Tall in the Saddle build a great supporting cast of characters, all of which being people who fit seamlessly into the western setting. Supporting Rocklin throughout the story is Dave, the old, woman-hating drunk played in classic Gabby Hayes fashion. Ella Raines also brings a lot to the movie through her fiery performance as Arlie, the quick-to-anger cowgirl who grows fond of Rocklin despite her tense relationship with him. Making the cast even more colorful are the additions of the snobbish, high-class Miss Martin and Arliss' stoic but loyal bodyguard, Tala. Tall in the Saddle is the perfect successor to Stagecoach. Tall in the Saddle continued what Stagecoach started. While Tall in the Saddle isn't counted among the many movies John Wayne made with John Ford, it does serve as a fitting successor to Stagecoach for the actor. Its story is completely different from the adventure-style story seen in Stagecoach, yet it's still easy to see its influence on the 1944 Western. In fact, Tall in the Saddle seemingly started off with a homage to Stagecoach, which granted John Wayne a famous entrance where he halted the titular stagecoach and came on board. It's not likely to be a coincidence that Tall in the Saddle also kicks off with Wayne getting onto a stagecoach. Similar to Stagecoach, Tall in the Saddle has many of the hallmarks of a great John Wayne Western. It presents John Wayne's character as a mysterious stranger and a catalyst for change in terms of his impact on others. In both movies, Wayne accomplishes this through an air of confidence and an almost stubborn pride. His commanding presence is even reflected by the title itself, which is a reference to Dave's description of Rocklin as someone who rides tall in the saddle. This aspect of his persona also weighs heavily on Stagecoach, as evidenced by his unforgettable introductory scene. In a sense, Tall in the Saddle's Rocklin feels like an evolution of the Ringo Kid character made famous by Wayne in Stagecoach. Part of that was due to Wayne's age at the time. Wayne was 37 years old when he made Tall in the Saddle. Lacking the youth of the Ringo Kid helped him come across as a confident and experienced cowboy who knew exactly what he was doing. This aspect of his persona was key to many of his best scenes in Tall in the Saddle, and in that respect, it worked better for that movie than it did in Stagecoach. Tall in the Saddle has several great John Wayne moments. John Wayne is in top form in Tall in the Saddle. John Wayne and Ward bond in Tall in the Saddle. The on-screen image that John Wayne forged in Stagecoach lent itself well to Tall in the Saddle. During a poker game disagreement, the tough-talking brother of Arlie held Rocklin at gunpoint when the latter refused to concede a game he had fairly won. A quiet but grim Rocklin simply walked back to his room, culminating in a noteworthy sequence where Rocklin returned, wearing his gun. The quiet intensity demonstrated by Rocklin made it a classic John Wayne moment that shouldn't be missed. His bravado was a bit more restrained in a similarly impressive scene where he meets Arlie for the first time. Apparently deciding that avoidance is the best way to deal with the ill-tempered cowgirl, Rocklin walked away from her, even as she was firing shots in his direction that came uncomfortably close to hitting him. Here, Wayne's usually confident walk carried a slight trace of uncertainty, but one that felt believable given the circumstances. Rocklin's handling of the situations with Arlie and her brother stand in perfect contrast with how he dealt with George and Bob Clues, played by frequent John Wayne co-star Paul Fix. In these scenes, Rocklin proved that he had gravitas both when using force and without. John Wayne's tough guy reputation resonated greatly in the saloon scene where an angry Rocklin grabbed Bob by the face and shoved him to the floor. Rocklin showcased his physical superiority and alpha male dominance again when he took control of what was supposed to be an old-fashioned Western shootout. Rather than drawing his gun, Rocklin strode up to his opponent and knocked him out. The calm sense of resoluteness that John Wayne carried in Stagecoach, and was made even better by Tall in the Saddle, was an important building block to the legacy he has today.